Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 059 of the WA Running Podcast. We are recording on Monday, the 16th of December, with not many sleeps to go to Christmas. In today's episode, we cover results from the 6-inch marathon down in Dwellingup over the weekend, and we also get to cover some of the WA performances from Zatopek. Our interview this week, we had the opportunity to speak with Sam Burke from Tarkine Athletics, where we yarn about his running history, how the brand started and evolved, and what is in store for the future of Tarkine. So stay tuned for that. Across my screen is my co-host who will lace up in his endorphin elites, or the leaning, perhaps, on the 26th of December with young Henry at the WA Marathon Club Parlo Freelay. This is the Metronome Show. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, Simon. You're getting very good at those intros, mate. Very, very smooth.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's good. No, we'll be lacing up at the Parloof Relay. Had a call out from Andy Carrington this week to say potentially there's a few of the crew from Yellow who are looking to bring their kids down and have a bit of a race. So the race is on.
Yeah, so what shall we make a bet out of that, right? So how about a loser out of yourself and Andy and whoever of the Yellow crew would like to partake in the bet? Maybe the loser has to shout coffees and milkshakes.
Yeah, I reckon. That sounds like a fair deal.
So yeah, we'll wait and see from the Yellow crew to see if they take up on that offer.
Henry will take a triple shot latte, I reckon.
Do you reckon Henry will, when you tell him that a bet is on, do you reckon that he will rise up to the occasion, or will you just keep the bet under wraps?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know whether or not it'll ruin the enjoyment for him. So I think keep it as low key as I can without suggesting that maybe there's something on the line. And then when he sees me buying coffees for everyone at the end, then he'll know something wrong. Yeah.
No, sounds good. How's your training week been?
Yeah, pretty good. Been pretty sore the last few days. I feel like what I haven't been mentioning in my training weeks to date is that I do hit the gym once a week, and by the gym I mean in my carport with some kettlebells.
Yeah.
But I feel like I maybe I hit the hammies a bit too hard this week, and a little bit toast from that. But besides that, pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad. I think Friday I was meant to go for an easy run, but we had the work Christmas party, so that didn't happen. Ended up trying to make up for lost time by running for over 2 hours on Sunday, which is against Tina's orders, but feel pretty good this morning actually. So pulled up okay. Ran in the autopilots, and not too bad. They feel pretty great considering that I am a wide foot man. I was able to fit into the D width shoes pretty well, and no blisters and no issues, so that was okay. Do you want to quickly go through your training week and how did that all pan out for you?
Yeah, sure. So I started Monday with rest day again. Tuesday did 5x800, 5x200. I think I was 90 seconds rest on the 800s and 30 seconds on the 200s. Felt very average during doing that. I don't know what had come over me on the Tuesday, but yeah, just I think the heat and a little bit of fatigue. But not sure, but just wasn't quite feeling it. Wednesday did 75 minutes on reasonably sore legs. And then Thursday we did the Tina session, which from memory was 3 minutes on, 1 minute float, 2 minutes on, 2 minute jog, times 3. So we did that around Lake Munga. Saw a few familiar faces there, on the road and in the car park, which was great. And then on Friday went for a 60-minute jog in the morning, and Saturday. Henry, I'd spoken to Henry about doing park run. Oh, I skipped gym there, so I did the gym on the Thursday after the session. So typically I'll do my gym days, which is usually only 30 minutes or so, and I'll do that after a session. So I like to do the hard days, the hard days hard and the easy days easy. On the Saturday, I was trying to get Henry to go down to Claysbrook park run with a few of the guys, but he didn't feel like racing on the weekend, which is fair enough. I don't feel like racing sometimes either. So we decided to just go for a dad run, and went to Bibra Lake not long after park run had started, but we kind of went in the opposite direction and just did 1,600 on, 400 off, some threshold mile repeats for my son, 7-year-old son.
Okay.
On a day which was probably close to 30 degrees at the time, so he did very well to get through that. I did 40 minutes in the evening, after a day of doing a few things around the house, and then ran on Sunday 2 hours. Ran very early on Sunday morning, 2 hours with Zane Walsh. Probably not a listener of the show, Zane, but he has appeared on our fellow podcast Crap. Talking about his 6-star, or his journey to the 6-star medal, and I think he's going to make his 7-star by. He's already entered for Sydney next year, so he'll be one of the very first, I reckon.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
How about you,
surprised.
mate?
Not too bad, but before I get there,
Mm.
I'm surprised that Zane doesn't listen to the show. I mean, I hear that on Crap he's considered a weasel, but I would have assumed that he was a friend of the show. But it's okay. Maybe Zane, one day you'll get to listen to the WA Running Podcast. My
I guess.
week's not. Yeah,
I
go.
guess he is. I guess he is a friend of the show,
Yeah.
but not an avid listener. That's the difference.
I see. I see. I see. That's the next level. He's not quite there yet. No, that's okay, Zane. You'll get there eventually. So my week was okay. I finished the week with 70 Ks, and I think it was just trying to make the most of the hot bloody week that we had in the last week. So Monday was 60 minutes with Rach down the coast. Rach is a OCD person that likes to hit Ks and a complete K before she finishes. So she
Right.
made me run an extra 40 seconds to reach 11 Ks. So that was Monday. We wore the new socks from the Marathon Club win, which was nice.
Yes.
They felt very good. Sorry, Perich, you didn't get your socks for coming third from the week before. Tuesday was 40 minutes easy with stride. So usually it's a workout day on a Tuesday, but Tina got me just running easy. Did that in the evening and it was still bloody hot, even at 8 p.m. on Tuesday.
Did Tina change that based on the forecast, or was it
No,
just
I think it was just from the run on Sunday and
Sure.
not wanting me to do a workout on Tuesday,
Fair enough?
which was appreciated. Wednesday was a rest. Thursday was the workout you mentioned, so it was good to see a couple of the guys from Double. I think it was Ella and Adam, and then we saw Hayden and Bente, which was nice. Good to see them. They were rocking the dad bod look, same as ours. Us, so good to see them. It was bloody hot Thursday morning.
Very sweaty.
Very sweaty. Friday was the Christmas party, so I was planning to do 45 minutes easy, but got home pretty late there. And then Saturday, I think it was a warm morning from memory. Either it was warm or it was very humid. So Tina the night before had changed the original plan, which was a 3x12 minute tempo to 3x10 minutes. So I took up on that offer because I have a weak mindset. So I did 3x10 minutes. I just did it around the neighborhood. I didn't make it to the Scarborough session there. And then Sunday was my long run. So 2 hours 15 total, ended up being 26 Ks roughly, which was really good. Autopilots felt pretty good. I think it was, although it was much cooler, still pretty humid, I think. I managed to smash out. I drank 2 liters of liquid.
Wow.
So it was a combination of like Bix, water, and I think I had to stop by the petrol station and just smash the Gatorade. So there was a lot of liquid coming into the body there. And that was my week. So 70 Ks. I'm happy with that considering. And there or thereabouts in the lead up to Christmas. I'm going to Japan, flying out Christmas night. So yeah.
With the long run, does Tina prescribe the length of those as well? Like you said, it was 2 hours 15 this week. Is that longer than it was last week, for example?
Yeah, she tends to just give me 90 minutes, to be honest. So it's just 90 minutes every Sunday. So not a particular distance and nothing longer than that. I think when I first started with Tina, it was an hour and 45. But at the moment, it's just really 90 minutes. And I guess that's just really just to do a long run on a Sunday. And distance and time is not really too much of a priority, really, at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
Shall we get stuck into results?
Yeah, why not? You want to get started with this, Simon?
Yep, so we've got 6-inch marathon results. So that was down at Mundabidi Trail down in Dwellingup. So we'll start with the men's 6-inch, which is about 47 Ks. The winner of the men's is Jerry Hill in a time of 3 hours, 15 minutes and 48 seconds. Coming second was the defending champ, Michael Carroll, in a time of 3 hours, 24:15. And third place was Andrew Walker in 3 hours, 55:39. In the women's, we had Petra Georgian in 4 hours and 4 minutes and 1 second. She was eighth overall. Second was Catherine Stockwell in 4 hours, 9 minutes and 59 seconds. And third place was Ayako Kusui in 4 hours 30. Big shout out to Big Kev, who ran a time of 4 hours and 5 minutes, coming ninth place. I guess your competition at Paolo Friuli, Andy Carrington, running a time of 4 hours 13 minutes, a big 50-minute PB from the previous year. So congrats to the winners, but also congrats to Big Kevin, Andy Carrington there. In the 3-inch, we had in the men's, we had Reece Crosswell winning in a time of 1 hour 42:25 seconds. Second, Alan Stabler in 1 hour 44, and Aaron O'Loughlin in 1 hour 48. In the women's, we had Lauren French taking out the win in 1 hour 48:59, so she was fourth overall. Great work from Loz, who I believe was under the weather for the last couple of weeks and ended up downgrading from the full to the 3-inch. So good work there, Loz. Jess Reynolds coming second in 1 hour 54, and Phoebe George in 1 hour 56. So looked like, great conditions on that Sunday. A bit of relief from a hot week in Perth. So, yeah, congrats to those that made it down and performed very well.
Yeah, I think I saw some commentary around the escalator. I think last week or the week before we mentioned that it had been graded and potentially was looking like it might be a little bit easier this year, but there was still a lot of complaints about that.
Yeah.
So maybe we'd misinformed people, and to anybody who signed up after we said that, I'm very sorry.
But also not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you're not coming here for facts, really. We're just winging it, aren't we?
Yeah, scrupulous information. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Shall we touch on Zatopek?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a lot of races. There was everything from field events right through to the shorter sprint distances and the juniors. But we'll just cover the 3,000 and the 10,000 as the key events, I guess, in terms of national champs. So in the 3,000, the women's race was won by Lyndon Hall in a time of 8 minutes 43 seconds, followed by Abby Caldwell and Amy Robinson. And in the men's, child prodigy Cam Myers won in a time of 7 minutes 41 seconds over Jude Thomas and Jack Anstey. I think breaking his own under 20 national record in the 3,000 metres. And in terms of WA representation, we had Max Shervington coming 14th in the men's in a time of 8 minutes 8 seconds. In the 10,000, we had Rose Davies take out the win for the women in 32 minutes 21 seconds, followed by Lauren Ryan and Leanne Popiani, who had been in a bit of form recently on the road. But I guess Rose Davies showed it, like her track prowess and her class, and obviously why she was selected in the 5,000 metres and made the final of that at the Paris Olympics. When Lauren Ryan was leading with about 600 metres to go, she kicked and Rose responded, and just
Kicked
it was
harder.
like, yeah, it looked like she went from fourth gear to seventh gear. It was like something else. So it was pretty impressive to watch live on the stream. Had it kind of sitting there like in the background while I was doing some stuff outside, and I could hear the race getting closer to the end, and so I jumped in the last few Ks, and yeah, it was awesome to watch. In the men's, we had Jack Rayner winning in a time of 28 minutes 26 seconds over Sam Clifford and Oliver Chignall, who's from over in New Zealand, I believe. Now, Jack won that. Obviously, it's a reasonably slow race by his standards. I think his national record is 27 minutes and 9 seconds or something like that. But what was really great to see was Brett Robinson in that pack. It was a very big pack leading up to about 5 or 6 Ks, and Yeah, I think Robbo decided after about 6 kilometres that this is bullshit. Everybody's going too slow, and dropped like a 240 kilometre at the 6K mark. And yeah, it was really something to behold. Suddenly he was like 30 meters ahead of everybody, and yeah, kind of leading for 2.5 Ks maybe, and until eventually Jack reined him in. Jack Rayner reined him in. How good's that?
Mm.
And yeah, Jack won pretty comfortably in the end. But we had, in terms of WA reps, we had Dan Canala running 30 minutes flat for 19th. Not quite a PB, which I think comes in at around 29 minutes and 4 seconds. But nevertheless, great events there. Good to see some good big events on the track, and we'd love to see some stuff like that over here in WA, and I'm sure we will come next April when we have the track champs over here. I think it's April, am I right?
I think we've got the Perth Track Classic on the 1st of March, or that weekend,
March,
somewhere
okay.
around there.
Yeah,
But we do have, I think, the national champs, athletics champs later in the year.
Yeah, sure.
So
more scrupulous information. Yeah.
yeah. Who knows? We'll find out. We'll find out afterwards whether or not we're right or not.
Yeah.
And look, Zatopek is that sort of staple athletics event in the calendar. Meanwhile, in WA, we've got the night of the 2 and 5 champs, where we may get a food truck, we may not. We might get some carrots instead. So
Yeah. Cabbages.
Yeah, cabbages. That's it. In terms of upcoming events, I did notice on the WA Marathon Club website that they have a Borloo Bridge Run, which is part of the opening event this Sunday. So it looks to be a free 1 kilometre sprint, it seems, to be part of the opening of the bridge. So I think if you are interested in running 1K full send and set a Strava segment PB and be a course record holder on day one, then please sign up to the Marathon Club via the website there. We've got the anticipated Marathon Club Parley for Relay. That's on Boxing Day. What time does that start? I can't remember.
I think it's 9:30 a.m. Yeah,
9:30. May or may not be true. We'll find out. But we will see Chris and young Henry take on Andy Carrington and Son, along with a couple of the Yellow Crew. So we're looking forward to that. And into the new year, we've got the first Marathon Club event, which I think is the Matilda Bay Run on Sunday, the 12th of Jan. Distances in the 4K and 10K. And then, to cap off January, later in the month, we've got Night of the Go for 2 and 5, which is the State 5000 champs, along with a couple of community events there. Shall we get straight into our interview this week?
Yeah, this is something you locked in a few weeks ago, Simon. And last Friday, we were very fortunate to be invited over to the warehouse at Tarkine Athletics, talking prototype shoes, trails, and all things running from a business perspective. Here's our interview with Sam Burke. All right, our guest today is the co-founder of running news website Runners Tribe and co-founder and managing director of Tarkine Athletics, Sam Burke. Welcome to the WA Running Podcast.
Thanks, Chris. It's awesome to be here. Thanks a lot for inviting me. Congrats on taking over the new pod.
Yeah, no, we're pretty excited about it because it gives us an opportunity to talk with guys like yourself. Hopefully, today we get to have a good chat. Maybe bring some of the story of your running, but also your other endeavours to the listenership in WA. So thanks for showing us around the warehouse today. It's been pretty eye-opening.
Oh, really? Yeah, no problem. It's it's a pretty cool little setup here. Got our little sea containers that we're sitting in now, and a bunch of shoes on racks out the back, and it's a fun place to work, right? We've got a few you've met Brandon and Ross, and we have a lot of fun here and try not to take life too seriously. Just, try and build something cool and, have a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess we'll probably go into Tarkine a little bit later in the interview, but I guess first up, we'd like to apologise on behalf of Matt and Dan. Like, you gave them a pair of shoes, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and before we took over the podcast, and they perhaps had promised that they would review those shoes on the podcast. And look, I don't know what they're doing running-wise at the moment, but Simon and I did see Dan wearing the autopilots about was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, just going for a walk through City Beach. So I don't think he's doing much running nowadays.
That's pretty funny.
Matt's too concerned about swimming and playing golf, which I don't know is the target sport for the autopilots. But
classic.
No.
Oh, that's all right. Those guys are welcome to, for their kicks, and hopefully they're getting some use out of it.
Definitely. And I'm sure that at some point in the future we'll have them back on the podcast, and at that point in time they'll be able to provide us with a bit of a review.
And I think they just need to do a little bit more running, right? So
I'll fit you two guys up with some shoes after this, and
And we promise to not just quit the podcast after receiving the free shoes.
Yeah. No, let's that'd be great, Sam. Really appreciate that. But let's maybe get started with your history as a runner. I understand you were a bit of a track runner when you were younger, pretty quick in the 8 and the 1500. Where did running start for you? What's your history like? What's your background?
Oh yeah, I mean, I grew up in Sydney, and I guess I got involved in running at an early age. Ran through the junior system there, and I guess my juniors were probably the best years. Like I won, 6 or 7 state New South Wales titles and medalled at nationals once, and was ranked, top couple in the country for many years there. But like, it's juniors one thing, but seniors a different thing. Like it's easy when you're a kid. Like you're living at home, you're chilling out, and you just got school, and that's about it. And like I got to 18, 19, and life just got harder. Like I didn't come from a family. Like my dad was never going to say, hey, you can just chill out at home and train all day. So I went out and started studying, got a job, and life got harder. And I guess there's many forms of talent, and I'm not that talented in staying uninjured. I think as an adult, like my longest period without an injury was maybe 7 months. I just kept getting stress fractures, and I probably overdid it. But like I definitely I wasn't, definitely didn't make it as a senior athlete. Like I was okay, but it was just, I just kept getting injured, and it was frustrating. But I loved the running. I ran some half decent times, I guess, but didn't really kick on like I wanted. But that's life. It's a brutal sport, and it's like you just got to enjoy the journey. Not try not to take it too seriously, because it's just a sport at the end of the day. Just get out there and have fun, and
exactly.
What will be. But that's a bit of a background. Like I loved my running as a kid. Had a lot of fun, and Sydney's a great place to grow up as a runner, because it's like incredible depth. I remember racing state cross country as a kid, and CIS cross country, and it was just like hundreds and hundreds of kids, and like that first few hundred meters you're just sprinting, and it's a great kind of experience, and I loved it. And I wish I went to college though. That's probably my biggest regret. I wish when I left school I went to college, because then I could have extended that fun I had at school for a bit longer without having to maybe worry about being an adult. But you make decisions in life, and that's that.
Yeah, exactly. Were you coached all through juniors and then into after you graduated from school, I guess?
Yeah, I was coached by my dad for maybe I just not really coached. We just ran together, but for maybe the age of 8 to 14. And then I had a mate at high school, Ben Liddy, who's like one of Sydney's best 800, probably one of the best 800 coaches in the country right now. He introduced me to a coach when I was 14, and I stayed with him till I was maybe 20. Clive Cocaine, and he was a really good coach, and he kicked on, and he was really good at coaching 8 and 1500s runners, and then I moved to Perth to study. It was hard. Like Perth in 2003, like without offending anyone, like there weren't really any coaches for 8 and 1500. It's a different world here today. Like you got so many good coaches, you got Greeny, Raf, obviously Matt, I shouldn't have started listing names because I'm going to forget some, but there's so many good coaches, right? And it's like, when I moved here, there was no one really who was focusing on 8 and 15s. There was a sprint coach, and I was just, I struggled. Like I got here, and the scene wasn't as good. And anyway, that's that bit. I think kids growing up in Perth at the moment have a lot of opportunity. A lot of opportunity. It's good.
Yeah. So you came here to study. I believe you studied veterinary studies. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. I got into vet school here, and getting into Sydney Uni was tough for vet because you needed physics in year 12, and I just didn't do physics in year 12. So Sydney Uni just said, tough shit, right?
Yeah.
So I just put an application in for Perth, got into Murdoch,
Nice.
moved here and studied. It was a good call, like getting out of home and living with a bunch of students going through vet school. It's fun times, It's not great for the running, a lot of study, a lot of kind of drinking and just like being a kid. But like if your goal is to run quick, it's probably not ideal, but that's life. I don't think I was ever good enough to like just give up work and no one's going to pay a guy who's not not going to make the Olympics to just sit around and run. So most people don't have this option, right?
No, yeah. I mean, I guess viewing from the outside, because Simon and I didn't grow up doing track as juniors or at any point in our life, but listening to some of the other podcasts around, and it does seem like they're at the time, like especially through those that 2000s or even before, the Victorian and New South Wales and even Queensland systems have been quite strong in developing the younger talent, and so historically it seems like those fields of running have been a lot stronger.
So much. Like I just remember as a kid in like the 90s in Sydney, like there were so many coaches I could have gone to. It wasn't just I had a great coach, but there were a lot in Sydney and a lot of big groups, but like, Perth just, maybe there's a population thing, right? But, obviously Melbourne, Sydney had this huge hub of distance running and middle distance running, and Perth now has that. Like I see some of the squads these days and like it's awesome to see,
Definitely.
And that fosters talent, the kids stay in the sport, they have mates doing it, they have more fun doing it, and there's more competition, and if your training partners are smashing you rise to the occasion and you get better. So
no, exactly. So I guess how has your running evolved over time now? So I mean, obviously going through that period of university and maybe not running as much or running as frequently as you might have done as a junior, how has it kind of evolved to now?
Like a bit heavier, a bit kind of slower. Oh man, I still run a heap, but I'm 42 now, so it's like it's pretty painful to like look at some of the runs I'm doing and compare it to the old days. But it's like I'm still loving it. It's good for the mental health. I probably gave up serious running when I was 27. I was at Falls Creek training before the season started, and I got this injury in my foot, and I've still got it today. Like it goes away, and then at the moment it's hurting, and I'm like, it's one of these things that just hasn't really ever left me. So, so to be honest, I haven't really ever got back to that. That was 2009 that happened, and so I've been battling away since then. Like I'm still doing 100k weeks on a good week, but I'm probably in a little bit of pain, to be honest. Like for the first 5-6k of most of my runs. And that's life, a little bit of pain. Like as long as it's not, excruciating, it's all right. But it's worth it. I'm loving the running, and I'd still like to kind of think that I can maybe just run some Masters stuff. I did run a few Masters races last year. It was pretty damn slow, to be honest. Just a few muckabout trail races maybe in the future, and some 5k, 10ks, maybe a slow marathon at some stage, because it's nice to couple it with some travel, but there's no illusion that I'm ever going to run half fast again. It's just like getting out and staying healthy and having fun with it, and
I mean, I think that's just a natural progression of life, right? Where perhaps when you were younger, just being really competitive and being talented as you were at the time, you're like, well, that was the goal, to win everything or be the fastest guy. But then as you get older, the body breaks down naturally, because we're old now. And the hammies aren't as good as it used to be. But I suppose the priorities of why you run change just naturally.
They change. Like it's like I've got 2 kids at the moment now, and it's nice to kind of just get out of the house sometimes and go for a run. It's you got to have something else in your life other than work and family. Like you got to have a sport, and I love getting out, like running with friends or just running by myself, just running through the bush and just checking out and not thinking about much,
So do you run locally, or do you do a mix of, do the trails, like do hills or...
at the moment it's 95% local. I live in Freo. I just run from my house in Freo down to Manning Park and Coogee, North Coogee, that sort of area. But I guess when, I was 6 months ago, I was pretty fit, and before my foot flared up again, and I was kind of going out to Helena a bit on a Sunday and just like, doing the loop, the 23k loop starting at the bottom there and finishing at the bottom. Sometimes I'll park at the school and, run down there. But I used to do that, back in the day, like every Sunday for pretty much all year round, except for maybe leading up to a big track race. But these days I get out there every month or every second month, It's nice, but it's a bit of a drive, kind of like...
For sure.
It's like, you once got the kids, and it's like you need to justify every kind of minute of your day, as you know, and it's just like, if it's 45 minutes in, 45 minutes back, that's 90 minutes that I could have been, hanging with the kids, giving my wife a break, letting her go for a walk or sleep in or something. And so I kind of I can't help but think it's a bit selfish of me to sit in the car for 90 minutes when I could just run from my front door.
That's true, yeah.
And so that's kind of where my head's at with it. And, and it's the same with track sessions. Like I've got Raf Bore's like one of my, best mates from back in the day. Like we used to see each other, a couple of times a week and run together. And I'd love to go and jump in with his squad, with Greenie and stuff and bang out track sessions on a Tuesday night. Like I'd love that, but I just can't justify that with the family. Like my wife's working, she gets home at like 6 or 7 at night. Like if the kids need looking after, it's like, how am I meant to be there? Like it's impossible. So
it's the calculations and the maths that you run in your head going, is this worth the trouble I'm going to get later, or worth the effort or the time lost and all that sort of stuff? I feel like I do that every morning, every time I go for a run.
100%.
Oh shit, that's not worth it.
Yeah. And it's just, you think like, got to put yourself in your partner's shoes, and it's like, hey, like, she knows I love running, but you can just run from your front door. Like, do I love, is that trade-off worth it? And then, we don't have arguments over it, but it's like, you got to keep it in the back of your head if you want to have a happy marriage, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds very similar to the conversations Simon and I have had on a regular basis, and I'm sure there's a lot of our listeners that have similar experiences, whether they're male or female. It goes both ways. If you've got a partner that doesn't run, it doesn't, there's obviously an appreciation for why you do it, but obviously you have to consider everything.
I mean, so Chris and I are doing Gold Coast Marathon next year, and that's been a long time coming in terms of planting the seed and going, I can do marathon training, I can be a fully functioning parent and partner, and post a long run, I'm beautiful, I'm sweet, I'm good. But there's been a lot of little cracks here and there, and but we are going to Gold Coast Marathon.
Oh, good on you. Good on you. And so the entries are in, and it's all locked down.
Everything's booked. It's my daughter's 5th birthday around the same time, so it's the 5th birthday extravaganza. We're going to do.
So you're taking a fam?
Taking the fam, So all theme park. Going to Bluey World early in the week, and Daddy runs a marathon at the end. So.
It's like, So are you going to chill out after? Because obviously after marathon you get a week or two of just pretty much doing nothing. But I guess the week before it too, you're just really doing hardly anything.
It's school holidays around then. So strategically, I went, well, if we go a week earlier, we'll do all the touristy stuff and get everyone happy, and then we'll just slowly chill. And it's taper anyway.
And it's a taper. You're doing like half an hour a day and some strides, you're just chilling out.
I've learned that I'm not going to be a fully functioning human being post a marathon. So so the plan is and it's because it's before school holidays, it'll be hopefully a bit quieter as well. So I've thought this through for the last 2 years, and I'm glad that we got a ticket, because it'd be devastating if we missed out.
You got to do it, man. And it's just like I look at that and think like that trip to the Gold Coast is fun, but then imagine if you can then plan for like Boston. Or like Chicago, or like one of these like famous road marathons, like New York, like it would be so cool, take the family over, run New York, like you can't, that's invaluable.
Well, I know Linda listens to this episode, so I haven't brought up any of the world majors just yet, but I reckon if I can line up Tokyo Marathon, because Tokyo is not too far away, it's not too much of a commitment. If I can weave in Tokyo in the next couple of years, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, nice.
Perhaps we can go through Runner's Tribe. I mean, we talked a little bit about it before when we were offline, but it seems to be like one of the kind of biggest news websites for running around the world, and I guess initially in Australia, but there seems to be a lot of articles related to international athletics there, and obviously there's a podcast that's gone along with that. Where did that start for you, and I guess what was the impetus for doing that?
So Ross Johnson Ross is like my best mate. We went to high school together, grew up together, obviously, and stayed in touch ever since high school ended, and so we started Runners Tribe in 2007, and like in 07, like, you got to remember, like the website, the internet was kind of a different level than it is now, right?
Definitely.
Like there was like these shitty websites with like really slow, and it's just like, it was just a different level of things, and there wasn't any website in Australia. Like there was Athletics Australia's a website, but they weren't updating it much, and it didn't have interviews really back then. Like it's a different. There was no YouTube channel for athletics for AA back then, right? So, and so we just thought, shit, there's an opening here. Let's just start a website. And so, I guess at that point in 07, I was running a lot, and I was deep in that world. I was competing at nationals and going around to all the like domestic meets in cities around the country, and so like it was easy to do it because I was kind of there running, and so anyway, and so we just started it, and it went well, like it kind of within 6 months we had landed a partnership deal with New Balance, and that kind of fueled us for like literally 7 years.
Wow.
And it was a decent deal that really helped us stay alive and grow. And there's been and since then, like, it's never been this website that's made like millions of bucks, right?
Sure.
Like you don't make that sort of money when you're in the running media game, right? It's just not that sort of business. But we've had a lot of fun, and I think we've done something good for the sport in Australia. Like I think that it's we've given a voice to hundreds and thousands of athletes, right, over the years, and just from interviews and blogs, and they wouldn't have got, maybe these days they would get that voice in another way, but definitely back 07 to 2017, 18 they didn't really have the options, and so we provided that, and I think hopefully I'd like to think that it's played a part in, and it's done some good to the sport, hopefully. And these days, like, it's hard, like we're very busy with other stuff, and so Runners Tribe is still pumping because we've got this. We're lucky enough; it's been around so long. It's very Google friendly, right? And so every day there'll be someone around the world who's searching something about running, and RT will come up on the top page, And so we're getting like over 100,000 visits a day just from organic searching, and so that obviously is good. But that creating that content, like it's challenging. We have two full-time writers, right? But that doesn't come without challenges. Like we're dealing with a problem at the moment where writers are probably not doing what we instructed them to do to the same level, and get some kickback. I had no idea it was happening. I won't go into details, but it's like I don't have my finger to the pulse on Runners Tribe like I used to. Like I'm not. It's not my sole focus anymore. Like I'm not waking up thinking, shit, what do they publish on Runners Tribe today? I need to check it. I need to fact check it. I need to check it for plagiarism. I need to and so it's not. I've taken a big step back, even though we still have it, and that comes with problems. Like I'm working through those, and it's hard. But Runners Tribe's been through ups and downs, and it's it's a great source, and it's going to be here hopefully another 20 years. Touch wood.
I mean, do either of you had like a media background or anything like that, or?
No. I mean, Ross studied marketing at college. Actually. No, so he's got a marketing background, but not like that's different to media. I understand, right? No, to be honest, nothing. Like Ross and I just kind of have cracks at things. It doesn't always work out well, to be honest. Like I've had some cracks at things that have totally failed. To be multiple times. But Runners Tribe, obviously we got enough right, and there's some things like the podcast was like every ep we brought out because of the network we've got. It had a really good listener count, but I haven't done one in 6 months, or more. I can't even remember the last one I did. I just don't. I'm just struggling for the time. I'd love to. We did try and get some other hosts, but it's hard. To get someone that really. Anyway, so Runners Tribe's there. It's still getting a lot of traffic every day. It's having hopefully people get something out of it, and
I mean, we find it hard enough to run a podcast that doesn't probably cater to a global audience quite like Runners Tribe does. So, I think that's feel like it's more than enough on our plate. It's pretty admirable that given everything you've got going on, you've still got that in the back of your mind, you know?
Yeah. It's very far in the back of my mind.
Yeah. But like you said, like the reason why Runners Tribe came about was due to that gap in the market, because people perhaps weren't that interested in athletics, or there wasn't that visibility of athletics back in the day. Like, I think for me, you know, as someone that would always run and perhaps more of a casual runner back in the day, barely knew anything about athletics until the Olympics, right? Once every 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think that gap, and to a certain extent, that gap is still there, although there is more visibility now, and there's a lot of Aussies doing really well in the middle distance stuff as well. But it's still that gap, right? Like, you know, Australian media is dominated by, you know, the AFL, or, you know, if it's not AFL, it's rugby, or, you know, soccer or whatnot. So there is always that gap there. So you're still meeting that need. There's still, you know, the social media has sort of upped it to a certain level, but there's always that battle, right? There's always that gap that there's not enough visibility, which Runners Tribe still has that its place.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, we get big, you know, media organisations that quote from us quite frequently and turn to us for, you know, sources of news and stuff. So I feel like we hopefully feed information to the big, you know, the big media companies when they need it. So we play our role, you know. And we've also had like Len Johnson write in for us since 2007, who's like, he's kind of like the guru in Australia on track and field and road running, and, you know, there's nothing he doesn't know. He's a great rider, and, you know, we've been very lucky to have him all this time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe tell us about the beginnings of Tarkine. Like, obviously, with Tarkine Rainforest in Tassie, but like, where did that connection come for you and Ross? And yeah, I guess tell us about the beginning.
Well, I spent a lot of time in I mainly grew up in Sydney, but like I spent a fair bit of time in Tassie as a kid, and always kind of loved it. Ross and I actually tried to start a shoe company in like 2009. Like,
wow.
We like stuffed around, made some prototypes, realised that we didn't have enough money, and like the prototype kept falling apart and all that shit. It's like, oh, this is hard, you know. So we just kind of parked it and thought, you know, we just don't have what it takes right now to pull this off, you know. And so, and then we revisited the idea, I guess, in like late 2017 to 18. I thought, like, shit, enough years gone by, maybe we can now do it. And, you know, and we always, you know, our company, I'm an environmental lover, and we thought, you know, why don't we try and have an edge here over other companies and do it a bit differently and really focus on making these things as environmentally friendly as possible without bullshitting and greenwashing the world too much, you know, because it is hard, because, you know, to do it perfectly, right? And we've been pretty transparent on that. And so that's where, like, you know, I raced the kind of trail race in, I think it was 220, right when COVID was hitting, and it was it just reminded me how much I love Tassie and love that part of the world, and so then I was just chatting to a bunch of guys after the race, and they already knew what we were working on, because I was racing in some prototypes that didn't really have a name yet, and we were just chatting after the race, and we were just saying, oh shit, let's call it after this place, you know. So that's that. And I think it was. I think it was something we got right, like that brand in the story. Like, we meet, like, the brand is not just like there's so many shoe companies out there. Like, you know, like we're more. It's more than just a plain old shoe company. You know, we make shoes, and you know, they're fun, but it's you know, we stand for something. You know. And, you know, percent of revenue, you know, 1% of revenue goes straight to trying to save the Tarkine, which is like this. You know, Australia's Amazon that's just getting obliterated by mining and logging, you know, and it's such a shame. And so, you know, we're really kind of true to our word with it all, and we have a big kind of underground support in that environmental community, because they realise that we're not full of shit, and that we actually are sending money every month, and we stand for something more than just making a product, you know. Yeah.
So are there groups that you work with over there that
Well, the biggest one would be for Bob Brown Foundation. You know, it's obviously like you say the Bob Brown Foundation, and you get like sections of society who, like, very right wing, who might not really like that, you know, because it's kind of, you know, they're very left, right? And you know, Bob, but put in politics aside, like the fact is, like these guys are trying to save, like
exactly.
Tarkine, and it's like, and that's the facts that we care about. Like they're just on the ground, just campaigning and putting themselves on the line and just sacrificing other areas of their life to do this. And so we're at the moment, that's where all the funds are funneling to, just because it's like, there used to be this huge battle for the Franklin River and the Snowy Hydroxide scheme, and this is today's battle, right? It's the equivalent of that today. It's huge. It's huge news in Tassie. It's like, and I'm hoping that I definitely think that there's a couple 100,000 people around the world, obviously, who now know what the Tarkine is, because it probably wasn't something that the average Aussie had even heard of.
Yeah.
And has that? So that was the beginnings of Tarkine, and you've grown over time since 2017 from concept to what it is now. That transparency, that commitment, and that value proposition, that becomes more and more important in terms of your point of difference with the other shoe?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because it is our point of difference, really. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like there's so many options. Like Asics and Saucony. These days, is there a difference between Asics and Saucony? What do they stand for? They make great shoes. Don't get me wrong, but if you go through all the shoe companies, and you just quickly say to a consumer what do they stand for, you're probably going to get the same answer for nearly every shoe brand, right? But then you get to Tarkine, and people clearly have a different something different to say. They'll be like, these guys care about the world, and they're really kind of a cross between a shoe company and an environmental activism company, and that's why we want to be viewed, a cross between the two, and I think that's what we've achieved, and hopefully we can keep building on that.
Yeah. So, looking a little bit over the specs of the shoes, you've got biodegradable laces, and you've got the rerun system where, you basically return shoes, you sell them on again at a discounted price. How does it work with the technology of the shoes? Obviously, performance is one side of the shoe, but doing that in a sustainable way, or a way that is cleaner to the environment, must be difficult.
It's really hard. If you look, so we've actually and I've been really honest about this, but we've actually taken a step back from, we've probably gone backwards on how eco-friendly we are since we launched. Our launching shoe, the Goshawk, was probably too full on in that front. We were using biodegradable sock liners, or inserts. Most people in Australia for them as inserts, but and they were literally biodegrading. People didn't wear socks, so then customers were emailing us saying this insert shit, it's biodegrading. I'm like, you meant to wear socks. That's the point. You meant to wear bloody socks, and then it would last longer. But the point is yes, we pushed it. Even the outsole on the Goshawk, the rubber outsole, that was recycled rubber, right? And it was really hard to glue that shit down properly, and 1 in 100 shoes, the outsole would just peel a little bit after a few. So it's really hard. So now what we've taken a huge step back, and we've realised that the story behind the brand is one that cares about the environment, but every product needs to be because at the end of the day, the consumers really care about what's on their feet, and they just want the shoes to be high performance and treat their feet perfectly. So we've actually gone back, not backwards, but moved a huge step towards performance, high performance, and just comfort, while still trying to do everything we can on the eco front, right? So we're using recycled uppers, we're using recycled laces. The inserts now are no longer compostable. Although we are doing a lot of R&D work on creating one that is, which is really, really hard to pull off, but it's something that R&D we're doing every year. And then some of our outsoles, we've got a lot better at the outsole stuff. They're using pre-consumer recycled outsoles, and you wouldn't even know they are now, and they definitely don't. We definitely haven't had an outsole peeling off in 2 years now, so that's kind of good.
It's one of those balancing acts that you must always have to do, and trying to compete with the other shoe brands, and even your next steps in the next couple of years. It's that balance between performance, durability, but then trying to keep it sustainable and environmentally friendly, right? Which is always that balancing act.
100%. And a huge part of it is like what happens to the shoe after it's been used, right? Like most of them times they just get chucked in the bin and go to the tip, whereas we're encouraging customers to obviously send us the shoes back and we pay for them to get recycled. So that's something like we didn't invent that tech. Like anyone can like any of these shoe companies can be paying to recycle their shoes. Like what we have done though is put a lot of energy into making the shoes easy to recycle, because like like they say that those yellow bins in Australia, like 15% of that shit gets recycled, right? Because it's like you send something to a recycling company and they look at it and think, oh, we can't recycle this crap, most of it goes in the bin. So like, there's a lot of R&D work and research work into like actually creating products that's easy to recycle post use, and that's kind of way more important in my opinion than making stuff using biodegradable materials. True. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just being conscious of like what you're actually making them with, so you can reuse them and so you can recycle them. And so there's little things like that. Obviously, our rerun program is huge. Like we've saved thousands of shoes already from like you just can't like. We had someone yesterday just rock up to our warehouse. Like we try and send people to the retail shops in Perth that we're stocked in, but every now and then someone just rocks up out of the blue, and that's fine, right? But and they tried a pair on, right? They went for a run. Like I tried to not get them to like go, but they went outside, did like 300 meters down the road. They were like, "Oh, I need half size down." I'm like, "Oh shit, thanks, mate." Like now that shoe's gone, right?
Yeah, sure.
We can't sell that shoe. They should, we do have, there was anyway. So that goes straight on, but shops deal with this all around the country, like you try and prevent them going and running outside. I've seen, but the shop, you talk to shop owners and they're like, oh God, like it happens all the time. And so, we've just found a home for those shoes now.
That's good.
Yeah. Even someone will buy over, the internet sometimes, and they might do 20k in the pairs, and then they'll be like, oh, I want half size up or whatever. And so as long as we can clean the shoes and we're happy that they're still kind of like good enough, obviously then we discount the price and resell them. And so we spend a lot of time cleaning shoes. Yeah, it's good fun.
Like, what about conceptualizing shoes? I guess we've got the Goshawk, the Trail Devil 2, the Autopilot. We've seen a few things you've showed us here today of other shoes that you've got coming in the future potentially. I guess how does that process work for you guys from start to finish?
So I mean, it all starts obviously with the concept, with the idea, and then you just need your designer, right? So at the start we were outsourcing design work to people in Oregon, usually like a design team in Oregon, and it was super expensive. Like these guys charge like $12,000 US to design a pair of shoes for you. And like I didn't really have an option, so I'm like, shit, okay, like maybe that's just the way it is. But then now we have we've figured it out. Like we have Brandon Calder, who's like been with us for 14, 15 months. He's a full-time staff member, and he's just a complete gun at shoe design. And so he now designs our shoes with a lot of input from me and Ross, right?
Sure.
But we also have I probably have 12 people in the community that I really trust, and there's probably a lot more out there. I just never met them, but and people that I'm always texting and like getting their opinion and getting on the phone with them, and they're really helping us with that process just because they want to see us do well. There's a lot of shop owners out there that we do business with who really get involved in that process.
Yep.
Not just the owners, but the staff at some of these shops too that we work closely with, and they have huge amounts of input into the shoes, and that to me is key because like these are the guys that are buying our shoes and selling them, right? So once we've talked a lot to these guys and Brandon gets the design stuff done, it starts sketching. You just literally just sketching a shoe, right? But then you turn it into you take it, you digitalize it, and you go all the way through to like creating really nice CADs. And then once you've got your computer graphics up and it's 3D imaging done, you send it to the factory, right? And the factory start making prototypes. And so that prototype stage can take a long time if you're really shit at communicating exactly what you want. Or it can actually be, we're getting so much quicker now because we're just figuring out that like we need to, how well you need to communicate every single aspect of the shoe precisely to these guys. And if you're good at doing your job with that, then the actual process, your prototyping doesn't take as long as you think, it's quicker. So we're getting way better at all that. And then you get a prototype. Like if you look at the Goshawk, our prototyping, like we went through, I don't know, like over 10 prototypes. We were just naive and couldn't figure it out. But Whereas if you look at the autopilot, like that took 2 prototypes. Like
Wow.
we just nailed it, and we're working on a Road Devil shoe now, which is another just a high mileage road shoe. We pretty much nailed that on the first prototype. There's a few little things we're changing, but we've got this other trail shoe called the Giant coming out soon, which is just a higher stack trail shoe. Where I've showed you guys our road racing shoe we're prototyping. That's probably a few years off, but it all involves like you've got to pre-planning. Like we're already planning 227. You know,
Yes.
like what's happening in 227. 225 is old news. You know what I mean? Like it's like all that shit's mapped out from the date that we need to pay for shoes to the delivery times, everything. And that those times will all get delayed. 226 is I'm currently figuring out. 227 I've got in the back of my head and beyond. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I mean, you've got your shoes on the feet of like some great athletes such as Phil Gore and Okana Murray Bartlett and Shane Johnstone, friend of the show. Like, how do you approach those athletes, or do they come to you? Or like
at the Kosciuszko 100K the other day, we had Matt Gore come second and Josh Chug come third.
Yep.
Matt was in the autopilots because he's and Chuggy was in the Trail Devils, Trail Devil 2s, and we've got a lot of good runners, like especially in the trail scene, because we don't have track spikes, we don't have a road shoe, so like we can't go after those elite guys, but we do have a lot of really good road runners and ex-track runners in the training in the autopilots. Like James Nipris is an Olympic steeplechaser. He's doing a lot of mileage in the autopilots at the moment. Like there's a bunch of others, and like and how do we get them? Like like a lot reach out to us, to be honest.
Yep.
And it kind of gets to be a little bit challenging because we have too many probably people without offending anyone, like reaching out, and so it's a juggling act because you got to realise like I want to give everyone free shit. Do you know what I mean?
Of
but
course,
it's like
yeah.
when you're trying, like this is a brutal business with like it's like complete war out there between the shoe companies, right?
Yeah.
And we're the smallest fish right now, trying to take a few little bites from the big boys, and like it's brutal, right? And so most of the athletes was kind of pissing anyone off is we probably lose cash on, like it's it's not really worth it. But every now and then you get an athlete who it might really pay off, and so it's just that gamble you're taking on them. Like I don't regret it. I love working with them all. I wish I could work with hundreds and hundreds, but it is one of those things you need to just look at the numbers and look at the business side of it and say, shit, like is this are we just gonna hemorrhage cash, or is it actually worth it? We reach out occasionally, but if you look at Akana, like she reached out to us because she wanted help to run 150 marathons in 150 days. Yep. She reached out to the 4 big company, and they also just like didn't want to know about it. Right?
Yeah.
They were like, you can have 1 pair. She reached out to a startup that was 6 months old. We chucked her 25 pairs of shoes, right? And we just like, let's just take a risk with her because we like her.
Yeah.
And that's really paid off.
Definitely.
Like Akana is a big name. She's like really, really helped us.
Yeah.
I'd love to find a bunch of Akanas, It's harder than you think to get a big social media following, like on Instagram. Phil Gore's great. Like he's been obviously huge for us. Like Phil's a legend. Like he comes to the warehouse every, I don't know, second month maybe, and just he collects his kicks and we talk a bit of shit, and I just marvel at how skinny the dude is. I just like
how can you run for 5 days?
Kind of just want to sit him down and give him some steak,
Fatten him up a bit.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like if you're giving free shoes to someone like Phil or Akana, like they're running so many Ks, right? So they're going through shoes like nobody's business. So it's not like you're just a track runner potentially running 100 Ks a week. They're probably not going through nearly as many shoes as someone like that.
Yeah, but you got a guy like Phil, like he's so grateful. Like he's just like, he's always saying thank you and like being nice, and I'm like, it really goes so far in life,
100%.
Just like it's like he's a gun runner. Like we want him behind the brand. But if he wasn't such a genuine, grateful human, I would walk away instantaneously. Because it's just as important as being good. Saying thank you a lot and just being grateful and just realizing that like everything in life costs money and like these companies taking a risk on you, you know. Like Shane's a legend, like you guys know Shane is like he's a gun and he's got this huge network because of Transcend and he's done so well with Transcend, you know, like it's just, I think that they've moved it to August next year I think that's going to be big for the event. And I love working with Shane because like he's just this like-minded guy who cares about the environment. He's like genuine, you know. He's a gun runner. He's like a total machine, you know. Just runs all day long, and he's just the kind of guy that we want to align ourselves with, you know. And I love working with him. You got Brendan Verrier, you know. He's like, I don't know if you guys know Brendan, but he's a freaking machine, you know. Like he's just like. And you know, like we got Matt Gore, who's one of, you know, obviously I don't think anyone will have a go at me for saying he's one of the best ultra runners in the country. There's Chug, you know, who owns the Margaret River Ultra record by like daylight second right to that record. He's like a total machine. He's just got a huge engine on him, you know, Chuggy. And so like, anyway, I could go on, but like we are trying to sign some more, but just
But you prioritize on, I guess, your principles is being a genuine person and doing good and a good human being sort of almost comes as good as the performance side of that.
100%. Yeah, we unfortunately you know there was we've unfortunately had to part ways with some a couple of athletes that I really did like and they're so talented, but they're just, you know, social media is a dangerous place. Like if you're a kid out there, like just be careful what you put. You got to think about what you post.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Of course. You know, you got to, like in this day and age, like you got to, if you're standing behind a company and they're trusting you and they're investing cash into you, just think about every single thing you put out into the world. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes your job effectively, and you're representing other people, not just yourself. You know?
From their point of view, I understand that they're not like making a full-time salary from us, right?
Yes.
But they are saving like thousands and thousands of bucks a year, not having to pay for their shoes. So it's like there needs to be that degree of accountability where, you know, what you put out into the world, like you need to, if you're going to take free shit from people, you need to be like, okay, like I can't, you know, put, you know, racist slurs on social media and things like that, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. Having the athletes is one thing, but also getting your shoes to some of the, I guess, talking about social media, people like Believe in the Run, like, you know, those guys have reviewed, I think, the Trail Devil 1 and 2 now, which must be good publicity for you guys. Do you kind of go over to the States and attend some of these big running events, or is it just a matter of communicating with them through social media? Or
it's I mean, it's a good question. Like I was booked to go to the running event in Texas, like this just was a few weeks ago, but I pulled out. Like we're just so busy here, and I just like our focus is Australia right now. Like we kind of like, I view those big events as important in the future to network, but like we're really just making our own path here. Do you know what I mean? Like you go to those events, they're dominated by On and Nike and Hoka and Asics. They're all in the corner and everyone's just hanging out there. They don't give a shit about some, you know, the little tiny, you know, startups over pushed in the other far corner that's a lot cheaper to get the store space, right? And so I guess I you know, had a few friends that went over there this year for and they kind of, you know, half of them are not going back. So it's like, I think that in order to get an edge in the business side of things, like we're trying to do things differently, you know. To Believe in a Run, like I just reached out to them via email, to be honest. Like they actually have an agent that deals with their requests, so they don't ever write back to you personally. They have a friend that gets in the middle of it, you know. Otherwise, I think shoe companies kind of put pressure on these guys. So we Believe in a Run. I just, you know, there's 3 key reviewers. I just send them kicks. And I'll write a little note just trying to give them a little bit of love. And then I just hold my breath, you know, because they're very influential. And obviously, like that, the Trail Devil 2 review that came out is fantastic. Like, really pumped with it. Obviously, they always point out some stuff. You know, they had some issues with the tongue. One of the reviewers has mentioned the tongue, which is it's not something I've run thousands Ks, not sure, and it's not something I've ever experienced. But it's like, they're experiencing it, so therefore, you know, it's true. I've got to figure out why the hell is it not happening on my foot, and why, you know. But shoes are hard, man. Like there's so much that goes into it. Like and the people's feet and people's preferences, like, you know, are wide and varied. You know, and it's like you can never make everyone happy, is what I learned. You know.
Yeah, for sure. And people, I guess, are creatures of habit too. So, you know, getting someone to stray away from the shoe that they've been wearing for 3 or 4 years can be difficult. But once they, get that, read a review like that, obviously it can be the influencing factor in getting new runners.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Talking about people with different feet and shoe preferences, I've got pretty fat feet, so I need to wear 2E width shoes for most of my shoes, and I just have to suck it up when I do the carbon plate shoes because they never come in the 2E size. So for fat feet people like myself, like how has it ever been in your thought process in terms of the design of the shoe? And I think we were speaking off air around, widths are never the same across shoe brands or shoe types. So like has that been sort of taken into consideration when you're designing a shoe, going like the flexibility of all the materials that you use to sort of be as accommodating for fat people?
100%. And but every trade-off you make to make a shoe more accommodating to wider feet, you need to remember that the guys with narrow feet might get bunching of the upper, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Because, if someone's got a super narrow midfoot and you've designed a shoe to accommodate guys with massive, wide midfoots or forefoots or whatever, then there's going to be a bit of slack in that shoe when the guy with the skinny foot puts it on and you get bunching. So it's about figuring out what kind of design is going to make the most number of people happy, so you get as fewer returns and exchanges as possible. Yeah. And but to answer the question, the autopilot, right? Its main difference, from the kind of a lot of the higher stack shoes on the market, is that we've made that last, the upper last, whatever, is a little bit more spacious for orthotics. Because there's a lot of hocker shoes that podiatrists struggle to get their orthotics into. And so it's subtle, but we've just made that last a little bit more spacious. And so that's why that shoe is doing really well in the podiatry market. We're stocked in a bunch of podiatrists now. We also have this buyers program with podiatrists. So there's probably over 100 podiatrists around the country now who are referring to the autopilots, customers of the autopilots. And so, and that's because we've made that last just a bit more spacious. We'll try it on in a sec and see how it goes for you. And it's also the reason, but everything has a trade-off. So there's sometimes with the autopilot we find about 15 to 20% of people need half a size down, right? So the length is spot on. We nail the length, but because we've made that last a bit more spacious, sometimes if you're an 11 US, sometimes into 10.5 US in this. And so, everything you do has this thing. 2E shoes, right, for men, obviously it's money why there's not more. There's no racing shoes in 2E because it's money. If you look at it, it's all about tooling costs. So let's just take I was showing you guys our racing shoe prototypes. Our racing shoe, to bring that to market, which probably won't be for a few years, is the tooling cost is $7,500 USD per half size, right? So if you're doing a run of 18 sizes, that's 18 times $7,500 US. Convert that to Aussie, and you haven't even made a shoe yet, right? That's just literally the tooling costs. That doesn't include the lasts. That's just literally the midsole, outsole molds. And so so it doesn't make sense, especially for a startup, to make 2Es yet. And even a lot of the big brands, only some of their models do it, don't they?
Exactly.
And it's all. That's why. If it weren't tooling costs, it would be a no-brainer. You just do it. But that is the hidden cost of shoemaking that people don't understand. You always get people saying, "Oh shit, you're selling these things for $260. They probably cost you, $30." It's no, it's costs so much more. Do you know what I mean?
R&D, development prototypes.
Yeah. It's you got to the tooling costs. Shit, the costs just never end. The warehouse that we're sitting in right now, it's not cheap, right? We've got full-time staff members. We have overseas full-time staff members too. We've got marketing costs out the yin-yang, and so it's an expensive game.
Yeah. So you were just talking about, the growth of the company and how you're working with podiatrists now as well. Was that something that happened organically, or was that something that was intentional as you were growing up?
No, it happened organically. There was a podiatrist in Wagga Wagga called Active Feet in Wagga Wagga. Yeah. And they reached out to us a while back and said, "Hey, we've been running in your shoes. We'd love to stock them." And I never really thought about it. I was just too busy working on other stuff. And I just saw the emails. all right, that's kind of cool. So I got on the phone with them, and then we trialed it out, and then these guys are just going through so many pairs of shoes. You know, like they're just, it's not every week, but every few weeks there's like a new order from them, and like they're just growing and moving. And I was like, well, shit, that's working well. Like, why don't we just get bigger at that? Because as I was chatting to you before, like the podiatry market, they've got a captive audience, and there's no competition. When you walk into a podiatrist, they've only got, a lot of these guys only have the autopilots on the wall or the trail dippers. Like, they don't have any other brand on the wall. So, and then you also have this podiatrist who's been to uni, who's super educated, saying you should get this shoe, and so the customers are saying okay. And it's working out, super well. Whereas you walk into a running shop and there'll be like 10 brands on the wall, and you can really hard to compete. You really need kind of like an in with the sales people to try and move people into your kicks. But that's what every brand's trying to do, right? They're trying to give incentives to get people in their shoes, not other people's shoes. It's a fierce game. Whereas the podiatry market, I've found it's like it's doing really well for us. The big brands, like, I don't think they have time to give a shit about this podiatry stuff. Like, they're that big. Australia's a tiny market for them. They just care about North America, to be honest. Like, it's just so big for them. Australia's tiny. Yeah, it's just I think they view us as just a little backwater kind of shithole.
Well, I feel like one of my brother-in-laws is a podiatrist, and the shoes he always recommended to me when I was having some issues were Brooks shoes, and they seem to have been like the staple for podiatrists for years and years.
Or something,
Brooks Adrenalines and stuff, like GT.
Exactly.
Brooks Adrenalines, like they you're right. Like they, they're huge following. Like, they're not necessarily stocking the shoes, but it's just got that kind of decades and decades of brand recognition in the pod market. Yeah. Yeah,
and if you can hook into those people who trust their podiatrist implicitly with the shoe selection, then that's going to pay dividends for sure.
100%. Yeah. And so that's really my main job these days. Is like I'm on the phone for hours and hours a day talking to pods. And shop owners, and that's my side of the business. It's just growing that as Ross and Brandon are concentrating on marketing, digital content, and online sales. So it's good times.
Awesome. Well, Sam, you've been so generous with your time today, mate. I'm sure we've been enlightened, but I'm sure the listeners will be too. I want to shake your hand.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's been good times. I love the pod, and hopefully you guys can take it and see what you can do with it.
Yeah, be exciting. All right.
Excellent. Well, thanks for talking to us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
How good was that, Simon?
That was very good.
Yeah, I think we were pretty lucky to walk out of the warehouse with a pair of autopilots after Matt and Dan had basically thieved them from Sam a few months ago. But we're looking forward to putting a few 100Ks on those, and I think you had a good run in them on the weekend. How did they feel?
Yeah, pretty good. Look, I was very skeptical about them because we did talk about how we talked about shoe width, and I unfortunately, despite the fact I'm only 5'7", I do wear size 11s in 2E, so I do have very fat feet for my size. So look, when I tried them on, I felt the awareness of my fat midfoot sort of hanging over the sole, but the 26K was sweet. It kind of, I'm a bit of a cheapskate when it comes to running shoes, so I don't have too many points of reference, but it kind of does feel like the Nimbus 25s. So look, for those that are fat feet like myself, I'd still give these guys a go. I'd suggest try them on in store where you can before making the purchase. But they felt great so far. So I think they're going to be the pair of shoes that I bring to Japan where, I'll take it for a spin on a lot of the easy runs and my long runs. So, so far so good. So we did make the promise to Sam that we won't plan on, stopping the podcast anytime soon. So we will have a chance to do a number of Ks in them and perhaps do a proper review, perhaps after 200, 300 Ks or so.
Yeah.
But so far so good.
Yeah, I think it's also, I guess they've got that rerun program where if you are looking for a cheaper pair of shoes, Ordwin, potentially you can pick up a pair of shoes that have done only up to 20 or 30 Ks, so still basically brand new and cleaned and, resold at a very reasonable price. So, and it looks like there's a whole bunch of new colorways. I think after we'd spoken to Sam on Friday, I saw some stuff on the weekend where they put out on social media that they were kind of advertising some of the new colorways for the Autopilot. So that'll be exciting for next year too.
Yeah, and I think Sam was talking about just minor tweaks here and there. So I don't know if that's going to be part of the colorway update or whether or not there will be a different version coming out. But looks like they've taken into account a lot of feedback, which is awesome to see from a startup being able to make a lot of iteration and tweaks based on feedback.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll get straight into the weapons, shall we? There was only a handful of weapons I spotted this week. Some pretty substantial ones though, and I want to just double check some of this information that you've got on here, Simon. But I did see that Matt Neves posted over 9,000 Ks as this year, as of this week. Kind of pointed that out to you. So he looked like he went for a 45-kilometre stroll on the weekend around Mandurah. I saw a few of his updates on Strava this week. He's an absolute glutton for it. So he's clearly enjoying the running, clearly enjoying torturing himself. But yeah, it'd be great to see. Oh, he's not going to crack 10,000, but I'd never say never, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 2 weeks to go. So it's probably a couple of 100K runs, Matt. So we'll see how we go. We'll see whether or not you do crack 10,000 or you do 10,000 next year.
Yeah, exactly. Vlad Ixel has done, according to the stats I've got here, 5,475 kilometres of elevation.
Maybe that's not kilometres; it's probably meters.
Yeah, but it must be more. It must be more than meters though, because maybe we just have to double check that. That's some poor information on our behalf. Apologies, Vlad. Zane, obviously, we talked about him earlier. We spotted him doing a recovery run during the week when it was 38 degrees in the middle of the day, and he was running at about 4:30. So hard to really call that a recovery run, but whatever floats your boat, Zane, I'm more than happy to go along with it.
Well, that's it for us. I'm seeing that you're typing in the run sheet about our next community run 003. Are we announcing anything?
We're not announcing anything just yet, but I just wanted to maybe say that it is in the works, and it is going to be bigger than it was in the past. So looking forward to announcing that in the new year. But it looks exciting.
Very exciting. Good, because I didn't know there were more updates. So good to know that it's happening. Looking at our Strava group, so feel free to join our Warp Strava group. It's currently sitting at 720 members. I think it's gone backwards, so I'm not too sure what's going on. We might have to do something contentious just to get the member count up a little bit. Our Instagram followers is up to 941, so thank you for your support there. Our Instagram is at WA Running Pod. Our email address is now warunningpodcast@gmail.com. And our Strava group is Warp. So that's it for us for this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
I don't think I'll be able to edit that one out.